Hi everyone, Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. This one is for Monday, February 8th, all the way through to Sunday, February 14th of 2021. And happy Chinese New Year to you all. This week we have a big energy to talk about. We have a stellium forming in the sign of Aquarius with the new moon in Aquarius. This means that we have a ton of planets all aligning together in the same sign. The last time we had this happen in Aquarius at the time of a new moon was actually February 5th of 1962. Now this energy was actually a little bit more potent because that was not only a new moon, but it was a total solar eclipse of the sun. That was a major turning point in our history, in our society. It set us off on a big new revolutionary, experimental, crazy energy that carried us through the 1960s. Now, this time around, we don't have that solar eclipse energy, but we do have the great conjunction that just happened in the sign of Aquarius, setting us off on a 20-year, 200-year, 800-year cycle. If you haven't watched that video that I did, definitely check it out and learn more about the great conjunction. But we have all of these planets piling together at the time of the new moon, which is also the beginning of the Chinese New Year. This is a massive energy that's really signifying the beginning stages of the changes that we need to be making in all of our lives and on a societal level. And so before we get into that, I do just want to mention, for those of you who are new to my channel, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit that like button too. I do a new video forecast every single Saturday at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. And so you don't want to miss all of my astrology updates. And even if you're not new to my channel, I just want to remind you guys, the way that I structure my videos is that I always start with a 5 to 10 minute general forecast for the energy for the week ahead. Do not skip this. This provides an important context and additional information that you'll need to better understand your more personalized forecast when I get into the forecast for all 12 signs. Speaking of which, when you listen to the forecast for all 12 signs, make sure that you listen to your rising sign, your sun sign, and your moon sign so you can get a more holistic overview of the energy for the week ahead. Your rising sign will be the most predominant literal energy. The sun sign will be secondary, and the moon sign is important to listen to as well, although it will typically be more internalized and subjective. Finally, at the end of each video, I do a 2 to 3 minute overview of the energy we'll be covering in next week's forecast so you can be even more ahead of the game in understanding what's to come. And so that being said, let's get back into the general forecast for all 12 signs. And so as I mentioned, the biggest energy this week is a massive new moon happening in the sign of Aquarius, and this is happening on Thursday. And this is actually going to be, there's a lot of different things going on here. We have Mercury Retrograde as a part of this energy, and I'm going to pull up the chart here so you guys can look at it. So we have Mercury Retrograde as a part of this energy, right smack in the middle of the stellium between Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, the moon, and the sun. And unlike in 1962, Mars is not actually a part of this stellium. However, Mars is squaring this stellium with Uranus. And so this is a very volatile, I don't want to call it explosive, because when I said that last time, people thought we were going to have literal explosions. And that's not what I meant. I meant it in a descriptive way, right? And I'm talking more about the personal implications of this energy in these forecasts, although sometimes I do bring up in passing some things that we might see more on the collective level. But it is an explosive energy. This is an energy that's going to ignite something in all of us. It's going to start a fire under all of us to create something new. This is what we've been building towards since December 21st of 2020. This is what we've been building toward in all of our lives when it comes to making necessary changes to alleviate frustrations, to break free from the old paradigms, to break free from stagnant mindsets, stuck stagnant energy, to break free from our comfort zones, because what we're about to be embracing for each and every one of us is going to be highly uncomfortable. It's going to be something that we're not used to. We're going to have to break away from certain ideologies, certain mindsets, certain beliefs with that Aquarian energy that we have adhered to very rigidly for a very long time, that have worked for us in one way or another for a very long time. So we feel comfortable with these mindsets, with these beliefs, with these ideologies. We adhere to them rather dogmatically, right? This could be in the form of science or religion, but this could be really any belief or ideology that you hold dear to yourself, because this is that air energy with Aquarius, fixed air, right? Fixed energy is something that is, for the most part, unchanging, right? It's a hard energy to shift, even though Aquarius is more forward thinking and progressive when it comes to kind of the mindset or the energy associated with Aquarius. It's still a Saturn ruled sign traditionally. And so there is a certain structure to it. There is a certain dogma. There is a certain rigidity to that Aquarian energy. And it's kind of like, once you've made up your mind about something and you've done your own research and you've convinced yourself that it's true, you're going to stick to that regardless of what's going on externally and the evidence to the contrary that you might come across in your life. That's that Aquarian energy, right? And so this is where we need to start looking to change our mindset about something, to change the facts and figures and things like that that we adhere to. We might have to look for outside alternative sources of information to inform our decisions moving forward. This is also an energy of looking at how what we're doing in our lives and what we're setting in motion with this new moon will be impacting not just us, but all of humanity, and not just right now, but for generations to come. This is a very humanitarian type of energy where we're looking at society as a whole and the impact we're making and how maybe we're enabling certain things to continue to go on in our society or in our community or in our lives, right? Because we're not doing what we need to be doing. We're not standing up for what we believe in, or maybe we've been just adhering very rigidly to these dogmatic ideas without doing further research. So that's going to be a part of this energy too, where the things that we initiate are going to need to be based on facts, based on figures, but also based on the mindset that what we do doesn't just impact us, right? It doesn't just impact the individual, it impacts the whole. The other thing with this energy is that the opposite side of it, or the square, is with Taurus, right? We have the fixed earth energy, which is a very comfortable material energy. And so this indicates that we're going to be initiating, launching into, or changing something rather abruptly on a material level as well. You might have already been, you should have actually already been feeling this coming. We've been talking about this energy building for several weeks now. And so there's this need to push forward with something. There's a huge frustration with the status quo in our lives, in society, on all of those levels right now. And there is an absolute need to start something new, to change course. But there are blockages, there are restrictions, there are heavy rules and regulations, there are things that we are responsible for that are preventing us from doing so. Or there are mindsets, right? It could be that you are blocking yourself from doing the thing that you need to do because you don't want to break out of your comfort zones, because you adhere to certain, methodologies that you believe to be the best. And so this is where we really have to look at all of those things this week, because this is where we're really, this is it, you guys. This is like where we're setting everything in motion. Finally, it's been building. We've been all over the place. We've been back and forth, up and down, round and round with whatever it is we're trying to create. Now is a time where we have to lock it in and go with it, right? And so this is an important moment in time. And the other thing that's happening this week, there are two other things that I think are pretty significant. The first is the Mercury Cazimi period. That's going to be happening on Monday, early in the morning at 6:47 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. It's usually active for about 2.5 hours before and after the exact conjunction, because it needs to be Mercury within 16 minutes of an exact conjunction with the sun. So that just means it needs to be in a very exact conjunction. And if you were in the Cosmic Community New Moon Gathering last month, you'll already know that this is an important period to set aside for reflection, contemplation. This is where things become very clear that were otherwise elusive or very chaotic and all over the place right now. It's kind of like our minds are just wandering from this to that and not knowing which information to utilize, not knowing what direction to take. There are too many changes, too many opportunities, too many things coming up all at once. And it's like absolute chaos, especially if you have a lot of fixed sign energy, as I happen to have. And so that's one thing that is important to make note of because we have this opportunity on Monday to sit with that energy during that time frame. I like to do something kind of mindless. If you can't sit still in meditation, which this energy is very volatile and very unsettled, so it's likely that a lot of people will not be able to sit still and just reflect. If you can't, then do something mindless. Fold your laundry, do something with your hands, wash the dishes, something where you can just let your mind wander and put that question in your mind that you have, that thing that has been causing you to feel frazzled or overwhelmed or blocked in some way. And the solutions will come to you. This is an energy in Aquarius where you'll get downloads, inspirations, right? Information that'll come in all at once, fully formed. And the other thing that's happening that's different than the 1960s, which is just a rabbit hole that I've been going down, because I'm preparing for the Cosmic Community New Moon Gathering this month, which is happening today. So if you haven't already signed up for my Cosmic Community, you can do so down in the description below. If you're watching this first thing in the morning, the gathering will be at noon. There will be a replay for you guys to watch if you sign up later than that. And we're going to really dig into this energy because this is a big one. But anyway, the one thing that's different from the 1960s to now is that we also have a Jupiter conjunction to Venus exact on the same day, almost literally just a couple of hours apart from being exact at the same time as the new moon in Aquarius. And the Jupiter Venus conjunction is the conjunction between the two benefic planets in astrology. It's considered to be one of the most auspicious energies that you can have astrologically, even with Jupiter and Venus kind of being in signs that are maybe not the best, right? It's not that they're horribly debilitated or anything like that, but with Venus being in the sign of Aquarius, it's kind of a weird placement. It's more like a platonic placement. It's not a very emotionally attached placement. Jupiter in Aquarius, obviously a Saturn and Uranus ruled sign. Jupiter actually kind of likes to be in Aquarius, I would say, just to the extent that Jupiter has that association with freedom, and so does Aquarius, and so they go well together, expanding on that freedom, individuality, independence, that type of thing. Anyway, this energy together is a benefic energy, and that's kind of the saving grace, because if you look at this chart up here, it's like very intense. It's kind of like all these planets are crunched together. It almost feels like it's like wah wah wah, like it's about to just like explode. um and maybe it will, and I hopefully it explodes in a way, like theoretically or figuratively, in your life, where it charges you up and causes you to finally do the thing and to commit to the thing and to launch into the thing that you really, really, really need to change in your life. That's really what this energy is best for. But that Venus Jupiter energy does help to ensure that you'll have a more positive outcome, even though the energy is quite volatile. And it does help ensure that what you're doing is for the greatest good of all concerned, the greatest good of your relationships. It is going to eventually result in some sort of harmony, balance, positive energy. Even if right now it does feel very intense and very scattered and very all over the place, it is something that you will be able to create opportunities out of into the future if you engage with this energy in the present. And so I do really like that about this new moon energy. And so that's basically what I wanted to dive into here in the general forecast. And so let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning, of course, with Aries and Aries rising. And before we do, I just do have a quick announcement. So behind the scenes, I've been working very hard to create a really incredible new astrology course. And so this course is very comprehensive. It's designed to be very interactive. We're going to have live meetings. We're going to have TAs who are going to be able to help support you, give you feedback, answer your questions in addition to me, because I'm only one person. We're going to have breakaway study groups. We're going to have assignments. We're going to have everything you need to be hands-on in your astrology knowledge, which is astrology, you guys, is like maybe 50 to 60% book learning, and the rest is all experiential. And so that's really what I'm trying to bring into the mix here with this course. And so this course is designed to help you cut through the chaos, clear up confusion, and learn how to give accurate, meaningful astrology readings and even make predictions. And so if you want to get on the waitlist for this course, the enrollment will begin in March. The link is down in the description below. I highly recommend it for anyone who is a beginner in astrology, anyone who has some knowledge of astrology but is having trouble putting the pieces together to actually give readings. This is for you. So again, the link is down in the description below. And I've been sharing little previews of all that on Instagram, and I share a lot of extra content and stuff on Instagram, and I do like a live Q&A thing every Thursday that people really, enjoy. So if you're not following me on Instagram, definitely do that. My handle is Astrology with Heather. So let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning, of course, with Aries and Aries rising. Okay, so for Aries and for Aries rising. So this new moon energy is happening in your 11th house, which is the house of friends, social networks, people that you surround yourself with by choice. And this is actually a really nice energy for Aries for the most part. This is where you're going to be setting something in motion and finally locking something down when it comes to a social activity, a big event, new friendships, new group associations. This is a really wonderful time for group connection and socializing and getting yourself out there. You might meet some new people, or you might be able to bring back in or reintegrate relationships from your past, friendships from your past that can be very valuable to you into the future. This is a great place to lean on. There could be some, financial disruption, financial upset that can be distracting from this, but this is really a good time for you to set intentions, to set something in motion when it comes to finding your tribe, finding the right people, and making these really exciting new connections in your life. And again, bringing back or reintegrating those old connections. Your social life might feel a little all over the place right now, or a little chaotic. It could be that there's a lot of social activity going on, or that it's too much and maybe you're withdrawing from social activity, like kind of overall. This could also be a really great new moon, especially if you are an Aries sun, moon, or rising anywhere from, let's say, 20 to 26 degrees. You'll have a really tight trine with the new moon to your descendant if you're an Aries rising, a nice sextile if it's your ascendant, sun, or moon. So you'll have this trine to the descendant for those Aries rising people. This could be a really great time to set intentions for meaningful new relationships that are exciting, that are balanced, that are very reciprocal, right? Where there's a mutual reciprocity in that relationship, mutually beneficial types of connections with people. This is a really good time to set those intentions and to, really to reharmonize and solidify your current relationships in a big way too. So that could be something that you could do with this energy. So whatever it is you want to create for yourself in relationships, now's the time to set that in motion. And this, by the way, is going to be impacting you not just for this month, but really all the way through until the summer when we have the full moon in the sign of Aquarius. And this is something that really will be carried out throughout the entire year because of that Saturn Uranus square. So just to kind of be mindful of that. Okay. And then for Taurus and for Taurus rising, this energy is happening up in your 10th house of career and public standing. There's a lot that's been on the table. There's a lot that's been on your mind. Things have been kind of all over the place when it comes to your career goals and plans. There's something new that you're setting in motion here, and you're probably starting to feel overwhelmed or frazzled or scattered, or like everything is kind of all over the place and you don't know what to use, what to throw away, what to touch on, what opportunities to take hold of. This is the time to set intentions and to align yourself with the right opportunities, the right changes that you need to make when it comes to not just your career and public standing, but your relationship with people in positions of authority, the legacy that you leave behind. This is also you making major changes in all areas of life. And so you probably feel a little overwhelmed or frazzled, not just in the area of career, but on a personal level, on a day-to-day level with your interpersonal relationships and everything that's going on there. there. And even in the area of home, family, property, your place of living, there could be a lot of disruption and change going on here. Think about where the change is starting to come up, where the frustrations are starting to show themselves, and what needs to be done about it, right? What changes you need to launch into. This is the time to start making things happen. For Gemini and for Gemini rising. For Geminis, this energy is happening in your ninth house, which is the house of higher education. It's the house of travel. It's the house of foreign countries, foreign cultures, foreign concepts. It's the house of the perspective that comes through your religious ideologies, your philosophical belief systems that frame your reality. And there's a lot going on in this area. You've been probably thinking or exploring. You've probably been exploring a lot of different new mindsets, a lot of different new ideologies, a lot of different information that you've never really touched on before. This is a paradigm busting energy for Geminis, where it's kind of like your whole worldview is being altered, rearranged, shattered, and it's kind of all over the place right now. Now's the time to bring it back around and also reintegrate old belief systems, old ideologies, old information that was really working for you in the past that maybe you've let fall by the wayside or you haven't really been in touch with. This is also where you could have an opportunity to set something in motion involving an educational pursuit, a teaching pursuit, publishing, writing, public speaking, something of that nature, or travel plans or something that connects you to foreign cultures, foreign countries, things like that as well. Now's the time to set intentions for that. And really, if you're a Gemini, sun, moon, or rising anywhere from 20 to 26 degrees, setting intentions for anything that you want to create that benefits you and benefits all concerned, that's in alignment with your integrity, with your values. This is the time for you to set that in motion because you're going to have those opportunities. And so, yeah, take hold of that energy, Gemini. Okay. And then for Cancer and for Cancer rising. So for Cancers, this energy is happening in your eighth house, which is the house of debt, joint finances, other people's money. This is a power and control type of energy. And so this is where you're looking at. First off, you might be making a lot of changes on the financial level, like kind of on that mundane level, where maybe your partner's resources are changing in some way. You're trying to change the way that you deal with resources. Maybe you're trying to pay off debts, get a loan. There are issues coming up involving taxes, insurance, inheritance, things of that nature, investments, where the energy is kind of all over the place, especially if you make investments, given what's been happening the past couple of weeks, which is stuff that I've predicted, by the way. Not to like toot my own horn here, but um, anyway, this is a time where you're getting your ducks in a row financially, but it feels like it's super hard. You're super scattered. The energy's all over the place. You're having trouble pulling it together and focusing on what you need to focus on. You might have some unexpected changes coming in via outside sources of income. This is also a time where you might just be feeling much more triggered, much more anxious, much more afraid. A lot of old fears, traumas, anxieties from the past might be bubbling up to the surface. This is the time to set intentions to heal through those past experiences once and for all. This would be a great time to set something in motion for some sort of psychological therapy or some sort of therapeutic process that really helps you to tackle issues on a much deeper sort of level and to heal through that. And that can lead to other forms of healing as well. This is also a time where you might be feeling more like you want to dive into things that are a little bit more taboo. This is the house of occult studies, occult sciences, things of that nature. People do say that it has to do with sex in the eighth house. I'm going to be honest with you. I've only seen this in practice, and I've done like thousands of charts. I've worked with I don't even know how many people at this point. I've seen this show up with sex if it's sex or sexuality in exchange for money. I haven't really seen it show up with just like sex in a romantic sense. So, but this could be a craving for deeper intimacy in your sexual partnerships, not necessarily on the sexual level, but in the emotional and psychological level, and you're wanting to set something in motion or change something there. If that's the case, then this would be the time for you to set those intentions and start exploring that area a little bit more deeply. Okay, for Leo and for Leo rising. So for Leo, this energy is happening in your seventh house, which is the house of relationships. And so there could be a lot going on for you already in the area of partnership, in the area of close friendships, business partnerships, contracts, agreements, negotiations, any close one-on-one relationships. You might have old flames coming back around and messaging you and stuff like that with this Mercury retrograde energy in your seventh house as well. But really, this is a time for you to kind of look back at the past, get your ducks in a row, and figure out what you truly want. What changes do you need to make when it comes to your role that you play in relationships? What changes do you need to make when it comes to the types of relationships you seek out? What changes do you need to make when it comes to the relationship dynamics in your current partnerships? And what changes especially do you need to make in order to get the ball rolling when it comes to business or work related partnerships or contracts, agreements, negotiations related to work? This is a time to think about that and to set these things in motion moving forward. Okay, for Virgo and for Virgo rising, this energy is a very scattered energy all over your sixth house. And so it probably feels busy, 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 overwhelming. There's probably a lot going on when it comes to your work, when it comes to your daily habits and routines, when it comes to your need to show up to help and serve other people in your life. There could be a lot of new energy or a lot of chaotic energy going on in the area of pets or animals in your life. There could be health related concerns or a need to revisit old health pursuits or complaints. There could be a need to change something when it comes to your diet, your nutrition, your exercise routines. There's a lot going on when it comes to just like the day to day things that you do to sustain your existence in this reality on a physical level, because that's really what the sixth house is all about. And so now's a time where you're really looking at that. And this is a time where you need to hone in on what you need to change, what you need to get rid of, cut through the fog, cut through the chaos, and really get down to business and creating the life that you want to create behind the scenes on that day to day level, and doing the things that make up the bigger picture when it comes to the changes that you want to make for yourself when it comes to your career and your public reputation, that bigger picture, overarching energy around career. So, this is a time to set those intentions, get things rolling. All right. And then for Libra and for Libra rising. For Libras, this energy is happening in your fifth house, which is the house of joy, fun, play, good things. And so Libras had it a little harder in 2020, and now you're starting to see the benefits of the energy that's coming in 2021. And all Libras this week are going to be affected in a positive way by the stellium, because it's really spanning the entire sign of Aquarius. Um, you know, Even if you're a 0 degree Libra, if you're a 20 degree Libra, if you're a 5 degree Libra, it doesn't matter. Something's going to be trining your ascendant sun or moon, and it's going to be activated by the new moon and by the stellium. This is going to create incredible new opportunities for you to break out of your comfort zones, for you to do things that you're passionate about, maybe for you to find some new romance, some new intimacy, some new fun in that way in your life. This could be a lot of energy around children. So if you have children, it could feel like your relationship with your children, your schedule with your children, it's kind of like all over the place right now. And so it could be a little bit scattered, where it's kind of like there's so much going on with your kids and that's really your focus right now. But for most people, this is probably just going to be an energy where you're having a lot more fun. You have a lot more, interest in doing things that are more creative, more expressive, different, outside of the box, things that you've never learned before, things that you've never engaged with before, that type of thing. And so this is a good time to set intentions to align yourself more fully and completely with new hobbies, new interests, new romance, new ways of engaging in play with your children, if that's something that's applicable to you. And so get the ball rolling. You already know what changes you're needing to be making. We've been talking about this for weeks now. And so now's the time where you can really set things in motion. For Scorpio and for Scorpio rising. So this energy is happening in your fourth house, in the house of home, family, property, real estate. And this is an area where things might feel all over the place. You're having some really exciting brand new beginnings going on in the area of home, family, property, real estate, all of that, your roots, right? Your ancestry. You could have a lot of changes going on in these areas and in the area of relationships, partnerships, contracts, agreements, negotiations. And really for Scorpios, this is really impacting you in all areas of life. So you just might feel overwhelmed and frazzled on a personal level with your identity, your goals, your plans, your orientation. Your physical health could be impacted by this in some way because you're so frazzled, because you're so overwhelmed by what's going on behind the scenes. This could also be making a lot of changes and having a lot that's up in the air, not just on the level of your home and what's going on behind the scenes, but also out there in the world when it comes to your career and your public standing, your public reputation. And there could also be changes or the need to make changes or something new that's going on in partnership or with a new partnership even, in business, in romance, in friendship, or just, involving contracts, agreements, negotiations, things of that nature, in business, in home, on a personal level. There's just so much here. And, as a Scorpio rising, I'm experiencing a lot of it. What I can say is that this week is where it all starts to come together. You're not going to feel quite as frazzled after this new moon because this is where you're going to really lock in the changes that you need to make versus the excess, right? This is where you need to focus on what really needs to happen. You need to get down to the nitty-gritty and figure out what is frustrating you, what you really want, what you really need, and what you really need to break free from, and what you really need to set in motion in order to have the home life that you want to create, the business life you want to create, the relationships that you want to create. Things need to change in all of these areas, but it doesn't mean that everything needs to change. With that Saturn energy, look at your foundations, look at what's working, and look at what you want to keep versus what needs to change. Don't throw it all out all at once. And that's going to be my best advice for Scorpios. And so figure those things out, set those intentions, and you'll be much better off for it because this is going to be a lasting energy that's going to be impacting all of us for weeks, months, and really the entire next year to come. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. So for Sagittarius, this energy is happening in your third house, which is the house of community. It's the house of, learning, education, communication, your thought processes. It's the house of short distance travel. It's the house of siblings and extended family members. You might have a lot going on when it comes to just your mind. This is an energy that really has to do with your mentality around things, your mindset, your thought processes, your ability to learn and think clearly. And it's kind of like you have a lot of ideas. They're all over the place. You want to change all of these things, but you're also thinking about the information that you have that's really solid, that's working for you, and how that might conflict or go well with the new, exciting, outside of the box information that's coming in. And so you're kind of looking at weighing the options. You're looking at what's been working for you, what hasn't been working for you, and what you need to change moving forward. There could also be a lot of energy around connection with your community and making the right connections within your community. You might have a lot of communication coming in right now, emails, text messages, phone calls, things of that nature, especially when it comes to your work and your daily habits, routines, or your health. That's going to be that sixth house energy. But really, this is a time for you to set something in motion or set intentions to change something through new educational pursuits, gaining new information, sharing information. If you want to write a book, a blog, make a video, do a podcast, whatever it is about all of these things that you've been integrating and learning, now's the time to set intentions to do just that. If you want to create some sort of community organization or group in your community or with your neighbors or neighborhood, now's the time to do that. If you want to reach out and spend more time with your siblings, your extended family members, that type of thing. Now's the time to set that in motion too. So looking at really where you want to change and make adjustments and where things are working for you in those areas. Okay, and then for Capricorn and Capricorn rising. So for Capricorns, this has been happening, let's see here, in your second house. So this has been money, money, money. Money is on your mind right now, Capricorn. There's a lot going on. There's something that you're really trying to set in motion. And this is actually where you start to see the opportunities unfolding before you based on the hard work that you've already been putting in and the changes that you've been making. Hopefully you haven't thrown the baby out with the bathwater and you kept your foundations in your finances that are really solid, but you've also been making adjustments to your financial plans, seeking out new opportunities, making the changes that you need to make on a material level in order to create the financial independence that you're seeking. If you have, then you could have a breakthrough this week, a new beginning that's initiated. And this is also a great time for you to set intentions to initiate your own new beginnings in the area of finance. You've been kind of all over the place trying to figure out what you need to do, maybe what avenue to take with your job, maybe what avenue to take with your side hustle, what avenue to take with your investments, your savings, making a major purchase. Now is a time where you have all the information, you're reflecting on it, it's time to lock it in. That doesn't mean that you jump into something or sign a contract or something like that this week because Mercury's in retrograde, we're still kind of there, but it's like you're stating those intentions. It's like, okay, this is enough. I'm going to do this, I'm going to lock it in, and I'm launching into it. That's really what this is about. Okay. And then for Aquarius and Aquarius rising. So for Aquarius, this is impacting you personally in a big, big way. Aquarius is another one of those signs. It's probably the sign where this is the most relevant, where this is impacting you in all areas of life. Your entire life is changing right now. You are changing right now. You don't even know who you are anymore, most likely, especially if you're one of those early degree Aquarians, because there's just so much that's up in the air. You are shedding your old skin. You're shedding your old conditioning. You don't want to be who you were anymore. You want to be someone new. You want to be something else, but you're comfortable with who you've been and the way that you've been showing up. And other people are comfortable with who you were and the way that you've been showing up. So when you start to change, when you start to rebel, when you start to be something different, you're going to have disruptions in your relationships. This is actually a time with that Jupiter Venus conjunction, especially if you're an Aquarius sun, moon, or rising near that 12th degree. I would say especially 10 to 14 degrees. This is a time where, the new you, the you you're trying to create, the life that you're trying to create can be more easily accepted by the masses or by other people that are important to you in your life. So this is maybe the time to start setting things in motion or dropping those little seeds that you're going to be doing something new, that you're not who you used to be. This would be a great time to set that in motion. And really, this is an important time for anything that you feel like you need to change in your life. This is an important time for you to get your ducks in a row, figure out what's most important to you when it comes to making those changes, and to start setting things in motion, at least energetically, if not physically. So this new moon for Aquarius is a big one. This is a powerful, revolutionary new moon that's going to set you off on a very life-changing experience. And especially if you're born this week. So if this is like your solar return, this is a year where everything will change. You'll look back on this and be like, oh my gosh, this was like my whole life was turned upside down. It did a 180. I changed everything. I am not even at all the same person as I was. I don't look the same. I don't act the same. I don't have the same relationships. I don't have the same job. Nothing is the same, right? That's one of those years. And I mean that, in a positive sense. It's going to be uncomfortable, but this is where you're liberating yourself from anything that is not true to you. And so even if it feels uncomfortable in the moment, the end results, especially with this Jupiter Venus conjunction being part of this configuration, the end results are going to be positive. They're going to help bring you back into balance eventually. Okay, and then for Pisces and for Pisces rising, this is again more energy going on, more behind the scenes for Pisces than out in the open. There could be something that you've been dealing with very literally on a mundane level involving 12th house institutions, which include spiritual retreat centers, which include like vacation types of homes and things like that. Sometimes people say hotels are in the 12th house. I mean, they can be, especially if you also have some ninth house energy going on there, but especially things like monasteries, temples, ashrams, so like holy places that you go to be away from the world. Also, other places like hospitals, retreat centers, rehabilitation centers, asylums of all kinds. This could also be involving prisons, right, in places where people are incarcerated or have to be hidden away from society. You might be dealing with these institutions very literally in your life. I've seen this happen, time and and time again with clients, it doesn't mean that it will happen literally in that way. It just means that it's one potential of many potentials. And if that's the case, this is the time where it's kind of been all over the place and you're going to be like, okay, this is how I need to actually deal with the changes that are going on, or the issues that are coming up involving these specific institutions. For the rest of you, this is really about you honing in on the right form of spiritual discipline. You might be engaged in studying new and unusual forms of spirituality behind the scenes. And it doesn't just end with spirituality. You might be studying or looking into or going down rabbit holes about all sorts of crazy stuff behind the scenes that you don't want other people to necessarily know that you're looking into. But it's leading somewhere, right? It's going someplace. This is a really important time for you to get more disciplined with your spiritual practices in one form or another, and to change things up in that area, to open your mind to outside belief systems that you might not have otherwise entertained. And this is also, you probably have like a lot of subconscious like restlessness, and this would also be an energy where you might have trouble sleeping, or you might be having really vivid or very wild or very unusual dreams. Write those dreams down because they're trying to tell you something. This is where information and change is going to be coming through the subconscious. It's going to be coming through symbolically and metaphorically rather than, overtly, except for maybe some of those institutions that I was talking about. And this is a really good time to set something in motion when it comes to what you do for your spiritual health, your spiritual well-being. This is about getting away from the busyness of everyday life so you can focus on your inner world and your internal reality in one form or another. And that's really what this new moon is about for Pisces. Okay, and so that is my forecast for the 12 signs. Let's get into next week's energy a little bit here. So next week is another important week. We're almost out of the crazy chaos energy of January and February, but we have the Saturn-Jupiter square coming exact. This is an energy we've been feeling really since December. It's been heating up even more in January. It's going to continue to heat up in February and into March. Between this and the Jupiter energy, one of the things that I was predicting in my Navigating 2021 donation webinar that I did, and I think in a bunch of other places too. I don't know what I've said where at this point because I've been talking about this for so long and for in so many different areas. But one of the things I was talking about was volatility in the economic arena, right, in the financial markets, and subsequent financial or economic reform, like new legislation and things like that coming in. It looks like we're starting to see where that's going to take place and why that's going to take place and how that's going to take place. And then kind of like more on an individual level, this is where things really come to the first peak, right? This is a frustrating energy. Saturn in square with Uranus. Saturn wants to restrict. Saturn wants to maintain the status quo. And that's what we're seeing when it comes to the things that are going on with the financial markets and the gatekeepers and the people that are, charged with maintaining the status quo. They're like, no. This cannot be, right? And I feel like that's a really good metaphor or a very good example of how this could even play out on an individual level. It's like there's something going on here where you need to change something. You need to do something different. You can't stand it anymore. You are pushing back. You are rebelling against your current circumstances. And there's someone or something or even some part of you that's like, no, this cannot be. It's always been this way. It has to stay this way, right? This is where that energy is really coming to a peak. And so that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. We've already been feeling this. It's just kind of like it's more condensed and more apparent next week, or the most apparent that it has really been. And then the other thing too is that Mercury's stationing to go direct. So we get that forward momentum. That's like fast, you guys. I feel like this Mercury retrograde is already just flying by us. And, the first few days of this are not going to be the easiest. It will start to let up, but it's kind of stationing in between Jupiter and Saturn. It's stationing still kind of in a square with Uranus. It's not exact, but it's highlighting that energy. So it's kind of like, all right, we kind of got our ducks in a row. We went back and reviewed, re-edited, revised. We were putting it together, but now we're stalled out. It still feels frazzled. We're not exactly sure when to launch, what to launch, how to launch, and then in a week or so we'll really start to get that forward momentum going fully and completely into March. And March, by the way, you guys, is really great energy. I just released my Spring Electional Astrology Guide, and I had so many dates for March. It took me forever to get through it, which is a good thing. I would rather have that than like what I did with the Winter Guide, which was like I was struggling to even find dates that I could really recommend to people because it was so chaotic. This spring has a lot of really good energy. So we're almost out of the craziness, but next week there's another kind of peak energy. And then after that, things will start to let up quite a bit. So I just wanted to let you guys know what's going on a little bit farther into the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and share this information with your friends if you feel like they could benefit from knowing what's going on with their astrology. And I will see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.